Okay, seems it's time. I know, and I'm just still trying to figure out how all this works. No, I don't want to have bubbles all over my face. Hmm. Okay, I guess that'll. Yeah, we'll go with. There's too many ones that I like that I want to use, but I can only use one at a time. Whatever. Just that one, whatever. So, judging by the title, it's obvious that, yeah, I made the choice to finally decide, after contemplating for some time and numerous times failing to, record a video to do an introduction. I'm just gonna do it. Oh, whoa, did not mean for that to happen. I'm just gonna go live and just screw editing and all that because every time there has to be something wrong. So we're just gonna get it over and done with one hit. First, who am I? Well, the witch name that I came up with is Halcyon, which is kind of taking my matron's name and putting Seer at the end of it. I had to come up with something, and that sounded good, so we're gonna go with it. I've been in this practice, well, the occult science and metaphysics practice since 2011, so 8 years of this hot mess of stuff. And I've also wanted to continue like a passing down of what my mentor taught me because he's passing away due to a very chronic illness. And I wanted to keep his teachings alive and him still living, but I'll get into that at a different time and explaining all that. What I'm going to be aiming to provide for this community and whoever else deems fit to watch this, I'm going to be sharing what I know and learned the past 8 years of this practice. What worked for me, what worked for me, what didn't work for me, what not to do, what to consider doing. I'll also be doing like the everyday, like everybody's doing like the pick card thing, except I'm not going to be doing it based on zodiac sign. I'm instead going to be first starting off like everybody's going to see like all the decks that I have. Yep, I have about 14 or such. So that way it's going to be a unique pull. It ain't going to be just something that you're fixed and stuck with. Like for an example, I mean there's nothing wrong with like looking for your zodiac sun sign for Libra, and if that one doesn't resonate, now you gotta go with the one with the moon. If that one doesn't resonate, then you're gonna go with the one with the ascendant. If that one doesn't resonate. So you can kind of see how it just like, it just doesn't, it may not click every time, but I'm going at it at a different approach. Instead, let's just go at it with like, okay, you have 14 decks in front of you. You pick one. That's pulling you. Don't pick it because it looks pretty. Pick it because your inner self is saying, that one. No, I know you like the one with magical unicorns, but go with this one. And pick one. And I don't think you can be able to cross watch for somebody else if you're being pulled to one deck. Because unless if you're, you know, able to possess somebody and be like, okay, he's feeling that. Yeah, that deck's gonna go for him. No, that ain't gonna happen. So you can't cross watch with me. So I don't mean to like bamboozle out of that one, but yeah. Makes it, more personal and hopefully more of a pull and more accurate. What else am I gonna consider doing? I'll even do some how-tos on like how I do my workings. Some thinking outside of the box way of doing magical work. Something as simple as just saying, nah, not feeling it. To something very complex and really exaggerated, like a wild magic. Yeah, that can be pretty crazy. I'll also talk about, where did I put them? I just had a thing of... Oh, there they are. Hold on. I'll talk about how on Earth to use something like this. This piece of... Oh, I'm still new here. Piece of Celestine. And a selenite one. As an example of, like, gemstone crystals. How in the heck to use these little nasties. I'll share some of my magical oil recipes, how to interact with plants, and how to, like, learn correspondences with them. Yeah, they're pretty much the... Excuse me. Pretty much the same thing all over the place. I'll even talk about astrology and, you know, make people calm down about Saturn and not be all, oh, not the devil. Oh, for bloody sakes, not again. That stereotype is really old, by the way. And other than that, that's really it. It's just like a sharing of knowledge and, you know, hopefully that I don't give anybody an asthma attack for laughing too hard. But if I do, well, if you have life insurance, you're lucky because, you know, what they say with life insurance, you get to die. You get to come back if you die again, right? That's life insurance, I think. I don't know. But now for the witch tag part, there's a total of how many questions in this thing? 77. Okay, we're going to get really down in the dirty with this one. So from here, I'm just going to answer all 77 of these questions. Before, I did one for 35, but that one was not even that long. So let's see. Oh, and also to clarify what a chaotic neutral witch is, so that way everybody's in the know. That I'm not just like, oh gosh, she's chaotic. No. Chaotic neutral, at least how I'm defining it, is when you worry about yourself and those important to you. You don't go and curse nobody. You don't go and, like, go into anybody else's business. You worry about you and you stick to you. That's it. If someone comes at you or tries cursing or attacking you, then yeah, there's one thing to actually swing and go back. But now say if someone's going after, like, say for an example, like my grandmother or anyone like that, nothing wrong with, and actually that's where I actually got the term, by the way, like D&D. Yeah, that's what I got the term chaotic neutral. It's like, okay, I don't care, and this is my mindset anyway. I really don't give a crap about what the angelic presence wants, and I really don't care what the satanic stuff wants. I really don't care. Those two can go at it. I just been worrying about myself. If they want to come in and interact with me and be friendly, that's fine. But the minute that they start swinging, no. Because in my space, sacred space, and like where I do all my working and stuff, which funny enough is always on the move, I pretty make it point blank obvious that's not the point. If you're going to be in here, you have to tolerate one another. You tolerate and accept one another, and you be friendly in this space. If you come anywhere in here and cause negativity, well, for one, you're going to get warned. You stir up the pot again, you're just going to get kicked out and say, no, you're throwing a hissy fit. And you're supposed to be a spiritual guide or like a spiritual counselor. I don't really think that's much of a counselor or leading by example if you're throwing a hissy fit just because someone else is here that you don't like. Shouldn't you lead by example and accept? Because, I mean, I've had that happen when I had a saint and I also was going towards a Greek goddess, Aphrodite. Oh, God. Yeah, I know, whatever. And during a meditative spot and thinking, I kind of got like the input from the saint saying that, why is that woman walking like a harlot? I beg your pardon? Yeah, that didn't bode well, and she ended up getting the boot out. It's just I don't put up with that in here at all. No. But anyway, getting back on point here. So 77 questions of this. Do I use runes as a written language? I don't. But usually, when it comes to like using runes and like magical symbols, I mean, I engrave them and I like sharpie them on a vigil candle or something, and then put tape over the top of it. So that way I don't got to worry about it smudging off. But it's, I mean, it can be used as a written language, and I mean, I've even used, crap, what is that? What is that alphabet called? Cyrillic, like the Russian Cyrillic, when making sigils. That that works. Do I feel I have natural gifts, such as premonitions, hearing spirits, and if so, do I think that it is what led me to this path? No. Well, no to the part of like the gifts leading me to the path, because really, I joined. Well, actually, not really joined. I pretty much went off on this hot mess of not. Wait, sorry. There's a notification, and I'm like that dog from Up. You see something, and you go, oh, squirrel. Sorry, I get sidetracked easy. But I I've been in this practice again since 2011, and really, what led me to decide to dabble in this was in better helping and watching out for somebody very, very, very dear to me. Like, to the point of just like, if you just mess with him for no good reason, just to mess with him, you're getting hexed. Yeah, it was getting to that point. But natural gifts, well, I'm a psychic sensitive. Like, it's unreal. Like, I can just pick up on somebody if they're in a bad mood, and I can just detect it. I can also detect when there's like any kind of negativity around, and I can just pick up on it like that. I also come to find out after a few years that I'm also a psychic vampire. Great, great. I mean, there's using it in a negative way, and then there's also using it in a positive way, which is coming up in about a few seconds, and I'll explain that one too. I'm also, as from another person that's on YouTube that I follow. His name is Grimoire. He actually defined a very rare type of empathic person, which is known as a sin eater. And a sin eater is like a psychic vampire, but instead of it, taking a life from someone, it feeds on someone's negativity instead. If that makes sense. The only problem, though, it's a double-edged sword. Because once you take someone's negativity out of them, while they're free and they're able to live a happy life, once the sin eater takes that, all that they just took, they get afflicted with it. And it is extremely taxing, and it is extremely emotionally painful. Like, I have done something as simple as like a friend of mine having a pain in her wrist, and she just said, "Oh my god, my wrist is just hurting," and she was like, "Ugh." And I just walked out of my room, and I just looked at her, and she's just like, "God, my freaking wrist." I took a deep breath, and I just did this. I just yanked it out of her, out of like where her wrist is at. I didn't like pull it out of her, but just like focused and pulled. And then she was holding her wrist, and all of a sudden she goes, "The pain just went away. What the heck did you do? Did you do that?" "Yeah." "What? What, you don't, what, you think I couldn't do that or something?" "How did you do that?" "I don't know, but I did." "What else do you want me to say?" Then she has a dog that was also not feeling well. And it was just all like it was sick, and something was just wrong with it. I just picked up a little thing. This was a few weeks later. Just petted it a few times and took it out of it. She goes, jumps off my lap and goes onto the floor, walks towards my friend, and then just out of nowhere just flips and becomes hyperactive for a whole week, pretty much. It went from completely down to completely hyperactive for no just reason or any kind of logical explanation. And her son was experiencing some kind of knee pain. I pretty much looked and focused in on the knee, pulled it out again, and I said, "Here, have you take your hands, rub your kneecap. He did that, and he stood up, and he's like, what the heck? Now my knee doesn't hurt. How did you do that? By telling you what to do, and also taking your negativity away from you. It's something that is very difficult to have and do. Well, actually, what I do regarding like actually like taking negative energy away from someone to relieve them, instead, what I do is just like it's kind of like for me a mindset way. Here's a good way of going about it. It goes like this. Okay, somebody, let's just say, because another thing that I'm capable of doing is actually being able to look at somebody and say, that's a person. They're a convicted felon, so what? They're an addict, so what? They're a murderer, so what? Then that's something that a lot of people cannot do. A lot of people can just see somebody as a person. Instead, what they're always nitpicking and pointing at is, what'd you do wrong? Did you do this? Why'd you do this? You're a horrible person for this. And just keep nitpicking. Well, okay, if you're going to be nitpicking, how about we just turn it back on you and start nitpicking you? I think it's not nice. So why even do it to somebody else who clearly needs help and is in distress? Why nitpick them on their mistake instead? How about you just listen to them instead? Because one of these days, someone is going to come right around and just sting you right back. So it's just not even worth it. Just look at them as a person and just listen. You'll be surprised how much of a difference that makes. But being able to go completely blank and listen and focus in, and when they're able to tell me anything, like people have told me some pretty dark and pretty things, and I don't even flinch at it because it is what it is, bottom line. And nonetheless, you can't change it because it's behind you. So the only thing you can do is look back and say, okay, we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again and move forward. But taking all of that negativity and being hit with it, instead, while it's going on, I'm just saying to myself, all this negativity that's coming and it's hitting me, nah, it isn't going to affect me because I said so. And that's kind of going at it as a mental mindset. Like, I'm in control of myself. I decide what I do, what affects me, and how I go forward with. So if something negative is coming at me, I don't want it. That's it. Just take it, even though that it's a lot of negative, and if you're not really grounded and strong enough, like if you're not really set and prepared in a good mindset or a state of mind, of course, getting hit with all that negativity is going to cripple you and hurt you. But if you start here in your mindset saying like, okay, I'm in control, I decide what happens, and from there, since I'm seeing from my perspective and this is my world I'm looking at, I decide what happens and nobody else. And from there, since I'm in control, no matter what happens, someone can throw negative at me. What negative? I don't even see anything coming at me and someone's throwing negative at me. I don't see it. If I don't see it, and if it doesn't, if I can't like see it or interact with it, it doesn't exist. And if something doesn't exist, it can't affect you. That's like using mental alchemy to like do what I like to call bamboozle your way out of a lot of a hot mess of things. I hope that answered the question good enough. Just taking the state that's coming towards and be like, oh, negative, nah. But you have to be like really mentally like use a lot of deductive reasoning or use like I heard that knock knock. Yeah, that happens too. A lot around me. Like random ambience noises. Okay, good. Let's see. Another bloody notification. The what was another gift? I'm also able to like interact with like I like to call it the astral side, or like the astral plane. I hear you, Cupcake. You better knock it off. Mm-hmm. Quit it. Yeah, the spiritual energies are very present around me, but I'm able to. I can interact with them no problem, and I mean I'm friendly towards every kind of entity from every pantheon, from every viewpoint. If it comes towards me, I'm friendly. But the minute it starts throwing a hissy fit, it changes. Oh yeah, and that experience was intense. It was very intense, because the whole time, I mean, once I recited that prayer thing that that lady was talking about, once I recited it and followed it step by step. Let's just say, for me, everything around me just went quiet, mono, and still. And I'm just okay, just not having any big expectations and just relaxing. Went over to my uncle's for like our yearly Christmas breakfast that his wife makes, and I see the first divine to step forward and be all like, "Yep, I'm favoring this one, and I want to work for this one's cause." And it was Hell, my matron. She was the first one to come, and how she did it? They have two dogs that were my great grandparents, Jack and Joe. Jack, well, he's a lazy big guy, and he's going deaf and blind. And the other one's Joe. Now, Jill was the one who pretty much was the indicator of this one. She suffered a stroke. Right split down the middle. One side was normal, the other side like that. Like the other side was not even able to really function that well. And the first thing to pop in my head is, well, we know who's the first one to answer the call. And shortly thereafter, one after another, Nyx, Hera, Hecate, Bast, Sekhmet, Scotty, and so many more just kept following suit, one after another, throughout the rest of that day. And I'm just like, okay, we're going to be very, a little bit more careful about, and unexpected. What deity do I work with, if any, and why? Well, right off the bat, Hell. She's, again, my matron goddess. And it's not that, well, in a way, I suppose you can say she knows her. Wow, that was a bit of a weird lag. Okay, we're just gonna make all these notifications just piss off real quick. And Hell, what she did, she actually stopped me from suicide. A goddess of death stopped me from ending my own life. How she did it? Well, let's just say if you were standing next to two jet planes, like like standing right in the middle of two jet planes, and they just took off. That's how loud she screamed. To the point of me thinking that I actually went deaf. And she screamed, "You get the up, or you're gonna really die." Mm-hmm. After putting myself through a whole week of self harm and pretty much losing grip of reality and locking myself in my apartment, blacking everything out, and cutting off ties to the world. Just went insane. Whacked myself with whatever I got my hands on and just lost it. I mean, I'm not afraid to mention what's the truth, because I'm not afraid of the truth, to be honest. Hold on, I think some. I'll be right back. Hold on. Ah! Hey, milkshake. What are you doing? Good boy. I'm also playing a daddy daycare, but so far he's been good. Okay, now that I'm back and after dealing with an Eddie Murphy remake, let's see, what's the next oh wait, because really I was going to be taking my life because I thought someone very close to me took his life, and I just couldn't live with the stress of saying, well, you failed, kid. You didn't do what you said you were going to do, so, yeah. What else can you say? You failed. And I couldn't live with that. So, I was pushing myself to go towards that direction, and before it could happen, well, hello. I seem to have gone deaf. Yeah, it was quite, it was quite the wake-up call, and then looking up to see a woman in a, like, down the middle, in a beautiful white dress, blonde hair, blue eyes, and pretty much like a princess on one side, and then the other side having like bone protruding out of her skull, decayed flesh, and no eye, and blood coming out of the eye socket, the hair in black and all tangled up and like dried blood in it, and just all of, yeah. Her arm was like dislocated like this, and yeah, ugh. Ugh. It's just bringing back how she like for very first appeared to me. Like her dress was stained on that side of black with blood and rips and like bone, like some bones sticking out. Yeah, it was intense. But she handed me the side of her that had the hand that was dead and was all dislocated. She handed it to me, and the way she handed it, I thought for sure, like as she was like giving it towards me, and like hearing the bones go crack, 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 crack. During that crack, it sounded like there were like voices screaming, and it was just like, okay, she's giving me her dead hand. I don't know what she wants, but I'm just gonna take it. And I got back up, and shortly thereafter, come to find out. So, in all honesty, me ending my own life would have been in vain. So, really, Hell took it upon herself to not only get me to stand back up and prevent me from ending my life, but also prevented him from having to live for the rest of his life indirectly ending mine, which is huge. And she didn't have to do she didn't have to do it, but she did. And that's one thing I will vouch for, and that's why I also made her, well, not made her, but pretty much appointed her as my matron, and kind of said, well, you saved my life, so I don't get a choice if I want to be with you or not. I feel that I am in, pretty much, I'm obligated to, if that makes sense. It's like a thing of equitable exchange. So, we stuck with it. I also have worked with Nyx, the primordial goddess of night. There's also Hecate, of course, Aphrodite, Hera, Bast, Sekhmet. Scotty's another one. Hold on. Grayson. I don't mean to cut this live stream off early, but I'll come back live in a moment. It's just I have something I need to take care of. So this would be like